All right, our first story today. For those of you that are particularly enthusiastic about setting goals or just someone who wants to make a resolution for the first time, this morning on The Breakfast Club, we're talking about New Year's resolutions. As we step into the fresh year, so many of us find ourselves making promises. The most common one is often just to be healthy, to hit the gym. Others say they want to save more money, finally start that book you've been talking about for all this time. But have you ever wondered where this tradition of making New Year's resolutions comes from? We thought today, as we discuss how to make a resolution, we should also tell you where it comes from. This practice is actually one that started 4,000 years ago with the Babylonians.
Now for them, the New Year wasn't just in January, remember, it was in mid-March, marking the start of the harvest season. Now during the 12-day festival called Akitu, they planted crops, they crowned kings and made promises to repay debts. Their belief was really to keep these promises, ensuring favors from gods in the year ahead. So it was sort of a resolution to themselves and also to the Almighty. Now the Romans later adopted that idea, trying their New Year resolution pledges to the god Janus. Now the deity with two faces, if you'll remember, symbolizing the transition from past to the future.
All right, so different cultures have come together to commemorate this day. January was named after Janus, and it became a time for reflection, sacrifices, and promises for a better year. Imagine spending an entire month doing that. Yeah. By 46 BC, Julius Caesar's Julian calendar cemented Jan 1st as the start of the year for parts of the world. And over time, that practice actually evolved. So by the Middle Ages, knights took New Year oaths to renew their vows of chivalry.
In modern times, however, resolutions are less about pleasing gods or rulers and more about personal betterment, right? We want to talk about health, about productivity, happiness, calmness as well. And now here we are, approaching January 1st, 2025, very, very soon, with millions of people pledging to lose weight, or if you are really in sync with time, saying, let's stop doom scrolling in this year. But here's the catch really, most resolutions fall because they're either too big or too vague or just not what we truly care about. So let's talk about intention, habit hacks, and how to stop ghosting your goals by February.
Wow, I am so excited for this episode just to know what I can do to actually make those changes. Our guest today is Ashdin Doctor. He himself is known as the habit coach, and he actually hosts a podcast in which he breaks down the science of keeping habits together. It's had multiple episodes with different kinds of guests, experts, and all they do is break down the science of making a habit and keeping a habit. So Ashdin, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. We thought New Year's, perfect occasion to have you. So we're going to get into it with you. Just ask you everything there is to know about how to make a habit, how to keep a habit. So tell us first, Ashdin, most people, their resolution, and this is probably a lot of our viewers watching right now, their resolution is probably, I want to be healthier this year. Is that the wrong resolution? Is that not how you should even approach keeping resolutions and building habits? Should you be firmer in even in your mission statement?
I love it. I love the ghosting of your goals. That was the best, alliteration there. So the way that I would think about it is when you say, I want to be healthy, you're not creating a clear definition of what health means to you. So health means different things to all three of us. For somebody, health might just mean being able to climb upstairs. For others, it might be doing muscle ups and pull ups. So it's the definition of health is very important. So creating that clear definition is where we start off with. But the big problem is people have vague goals, just like what you said. Healthy is a vague goal. It doesn't mean anything unless you distill it down to the actual actions that you're going to be taking, which is where habits come in. So when I started the Habit Coach podcast 7-8 years ago, I started talking about resolutions, and I realized that people stopped resolutions within the first, I think it was 2 weeks of starting.
Yeah.
And they did exactly what you said. They would write down the resolutions and never look at them. They were ghosted. They had completely lost them. So instead what we did was we said, what are the little habits and what are the systems and processes you're going to put in place so that you can start making that change? It can be something as small as just replacing the sugar that is there next to your coffee machine with a bottle of stevia, for example. Just that little swap can also be a start to a resolution.
I see. So, Ashdin, lots of questions, but let me start by this. What are people doing wrong with setting out the right intention? I think intention is the first step, right? You have an intention, you translate that into a goal, then you sort of map out a game plan on how to achieve that goal. So, in that first step of having the right intention, what are we getting wrong?
The biggest thing that we make as a mistake is that we look at other people's goals and other people's progress, and then we want to upnow that. We want to take that on as our own goals.
Yeah.
So I remember a friend of mine coming to me and saying, Ashdin, I'm going to start running the marathon. It's January, everyone's going to start this whole marathon season, and it's going to begin. And they're like, I want to start running the marathon. I was like, fantastic. Why do you want to do it? Because my neighbor's doing it. I was like, okay, so we're going to run together. It's going to be fun. It's going to be cute in the morning. That's not a good way of starting a resolution, right? It is somebody else's goal that you've taken on, and guess what? She ran exactly twice with that friend, and then it went kaput because her intention wasn't very clear. And the way that we get to a clear intention is by peeling away the layers at why we want to do something. So there's a very simple technique. It's called the 3 why technique. So we ask ourselves why 3 times. All right, so I've given you, for example, an intention that didn't work. Let me give you an intention that did work. It's an example from one of my books. A client of mine wanted to start yoga. So I was like, okay, fantastic. Why do you want to start yoga? So become more flexible. So now she's told me flexibility. So I said, all right, why do you want to become more flexible? I want to become more flexible so that I can sit on the floor. Fantastic. Why do you want to sit on the floor? So that I can play with my child. She just had a child and she was too unfit. Her knees were not able to make her sit on the floor. And she equated being a good mother with the yoga practice. And that was so powerful that obviously she maintained that practice when it started. So that is the way to start thinking about intention. What is that one particular thing that hits home that I can take forward?
That's so beautiful. Yeah. Ashdin, can you just bring up now for us some of the science? I ask you that because every year it feels like there are different studies that are contradictory. One set of studies I know a few years ago said that it takes 30 days of doing something for it to become a habit. A different study said 60 days. I've seen another that said 120 days.
There's another one with 21 days.
Yeah, there we go.
Smoking habit. Yeah.
So break down for us what the science is here, and also tell us, do you just have to set one intention? Can you make 2 promises? Is that already breaking the science there? Tell us more.
I love it. So 1 intention per habit. So I don't think you should have more intentions per habit because 1 intention should be strong enough. If you don't have a strong enough intention, don't do that habit. Just let it go. There are enough other things to do that can occupy your time and help you evolve in life. With regards to the number of days that it takes, it's an absolute mess. Everyone talks about 21 days. 21 days started from a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, which spoke about not habit formation, but actually amputees and how long it takes for that arm to be, the ghost limb syndrome to go away. So it has nothing to do with habits. And that 21 days just sounds like such a good number that it caught on.
It's a sexy number,
right?
yeah.
It's a very cool number. It's also my birthday, so it's like very cool. The way that I tell clients and people that I speak to, don't be in a hurry to form a habit because you want a habit for the rest of your life. So why are you in such a hurry for saying that now this habit has formed? Instead, grow with your habit. So you mentioned reading as a habit. And people keep telling me, Ashdin, why do you write so many books? Nobody reads anymore. So I'm on a mission to get people to read as well. And one of the things I've realized is that as soon as people say, now I've got the habit of reading, the next month onwards, the reading habit drops away. Because in their mind, the tick mark was just to reach that 30-day goal or that 35-day goal or that 60-day goal. But it wasn't to continue reading for the rest of their life. So what I tell people is instead of saying, this is my habit and this is where I will see as a cutoff point, grow with that habit. Allow yourself to evolve. You're reading 5 pages, now start reading 1 chapter. You're reading 1 chapter, read 2 chapters. As you evolve the habit, you are getting stronger and the habit is getting stronger. So think of a habit as for the rest of your life, not 21 days.
Yeah, and can I add an anecdote there? I think what helps with reading or particularly for the example is that even if you're not reading days, you don't feel like it, just keep the book open. Just let that be a ritual, just sit with it nonetheless. Same with meditation, how we spoke about the other day. If you're not feeling it, just still do it. Just get on the mat and still have your moment. Which brings me to Ashdin, is this, so much talk about the starting of the new year being sort of a rejig of sorts, or sort of a time that you actually instill new habits? Is there a right time to do it, or do you say every day is a new day, every day is the right opportunity?
I think the 1st of Jan gives everyone an anchoring point. So, there's a community feeling, all gyms are full. The key aspect is that you also come out of a month of debauchery, right? You've been, you've let loose on everything.
Yeah.
You've let loose on work, you've let loose on your health, you've let loose on all your goals. And now you're like coming back with a vengeance. So what I tell people is, instead of waiting for the 1st of Jan to come every year, think of either two other options. One is the 1st of every month can be a great way of setting an intention. So 1st of Jan, I might work on my finances. 1st of Feb, I might work on my health. 1st of March, I might work. So that's another way of thinking about starting habits and intentions. So instead of yearly resolutions, have monthly resolutions. If you're somebody who likes lunar cycles, a great way of doing this is using the new moon as a start of because your 28 days, you have a great form of creating a goal and a habit and a clear intention. So as the moon grows, your habit grows, and as the moon wanes, you're setting that habit in stone. So I like to look at these kinds of anchor points to create these resolutions, because I think as human beings we require those anchor points to say, today I begin, which is why all diets start on Monday, right?
But Ashdin, can I ask you a sort of tricky counter question? The issue with having multiple starting points is also then that one fails, one then tells themselves, okay, I'll start next Monday. When you have a day where you've gone off, you tell yourself, theek hai, it's okay. Sometimes I do this thing where I look at the calendar, I go, okay, tomorrow's an even day. Sounds like a good day to start. So we have all sorts of silly ways, unfortunately, to make it okay to be gentle with ourselves. And that's what I wanted to ask you. A lot of this is about gentle versus harsh, discipline. A lot of people will say, make a disciplined regimental routine, describe the changes you need, and that's how you make it happen. But the reality of life is tricky, and often our goals get left on the wayside. So what's the mindset that needs to accompany this?
So this is why I created the 3 golden rules of habit change. May I take you through them?
Yes.
So the first golden rule is, make it stupidly small. All right? What is this goal? The idea of the habit is, what is the action that you're going to take? Make it so small that you feel stupid not doing it. So for example, the yoga habit that we were speaking about earlier with the intention, the yoga habit is not doing a half an hour yoga session or a 1 hour yoga session. The stupidly small habit is just rolling your mat out and sitting on it. Because once you sit on it, you might do a few Surya Namaskars, you might do a little stretching, which would not have happened if you said, I don't have 1 hour today, I will do it tomorrow. So make it stupidly small, at least get the repetitions in. Like you were saying, get the repetitions in, do whatever the smallest action is possible. So that's the first golden rule of habit change. The second golden rule of habit change is, make it extremely easy. This means you remove all friction. Anytime you have an excuse popping up, it means that there is friction. And we are all masters of excuses, right? Like I've had people not go out for a run because they didn't have matching socks. So, the socks didn't match my top, so I couldn't go for a run, Ashdin.
No, mine
so,
is a way of, staying in
God,
inertia.
we are excuse experts, right? So the whole thing is that, how do we remove the excuses from our life? That is where extremely easy comes in. So imagine that yoga mat I had to keep in a cupboard rolled up. There's inertia to open it. But imagine if I just kept it right next to the place where I'm going to do my workout. I'm just going to open it up and I'm going to sit on it. So the inertia has been removed. So that is, make it extremely easy. And the third golden rule of habit change, which is what you were asking, is how do you stay consistent at something?
Yeah.
And consistency boils down to being human with yourself. We are not robots, right? And we don't have to do something 21 days in a row for it to stick, because that is putting too much pressure on ourselves. We are human beings, life comes in the way. Never miss 2 days in a row is the third golden rule of habit change, which means you did something on Monday, you did something on Tuesday, on Wednesday, life happened. You felt sick, your child felt sick, you had to go for a wedding, you couldn't continue with your diet or whatever it was that your goal is. No problem. But make sure on Thursday you do that stupidly small habit at least. In that way, you're continuing the consistency of that habit, and that way you never fail. like you said, otherwise we get into the excuse of I'll start next week. Arey, Tuesday I failed, I'll start next week. It's because we're too harsh on ourselves. Let's use empathy. Let's talk to ourselves the way that we talk to our best friends, soothe ourselves and say, no problem, tomorrow I will start this again. And falling off the wagon, failing is a part of creating habits. So we have to become very, very comfortable with that. I fail all the time, but I learn from that failure.
I see. No 2 days. I think, and also the gap shouldn't be longer than the practice itself. And I think that's when the whole purpose also gets defeated. Ashdin, you take a lot of coaching, right? You do a lot of workshops with people to sort of get into habit formation. Can you share with us some really weird situations that people have shared with you on why they couldn't fall through or, you know, follow through on a habit, and what has been your solution to it?
I'm telling you, there are strange ones that come up. And you know, the key aspect is that each person's excuse is valid in their mind. So while they are strange, like I was mentioning, my socks didn't match my top, which is a strange one, but like it was actually a real valid excuse for somebody. The most common ones are my environment is not conducive. So Ashdin, I cannot get rid of sugar in my house because my child needs it, my father needs it, this person needs it. So we use the environment as an excuse. So what I tell people is, whatever you can control as much as possible. You know, like for example, all mothers, they buy 2 chocolates whenever they go to the shop. One for the child, one for themselves. You know, you don't need to buy that second chocolate. Many times mothers go to the shop to buy that chocolate for the child only so that they can eat it.
Don't buy at all, I would say. Keep them away from sugar.
Keep them away from sugar. So the whole thing is that we create these little excuses and these little tricks that we play with ourselves. The thing that I tell people is write down these excuses and ask yourself, is there any truth to this? And if there's no truth to it, cancel it, right? Whatever you can do, outsource your systems. Another great thing is that we are lucky that we live in a country where we have people cooking for us sometimes. We have people, you know. So outsource your systems to them. If you're forgetting to take your supplements every day, outsource a system to them to make sure that the supplement comes along with your lunch. So in that way, you're creating systems where you don't need to put your energy into them. They're all automatically a part of your life.
We've had so many takeaways today. Ashdin, we'll leave you with one last question. Sonal, what's your resolution? Do you know what you have planned?
I don't know. Can I
make
it official? Yeah, if I say it on TV, I'll have to do it. So that's the deal. No, to meditate more this year, to find time for myself outside of being a journalist, of being a wife, of being a mom, of being a daughter. Just time with me.
Mine is to be healthier. So it's a different end of what we've talked about. I want to actually stick to, you know, when I say I'm going to be healthy, there's one day that's really emotional and you end up, you know, junk eating and it takes everything off track. Ashdin, the reason we just discussed that is because I want to come and ask you, this last year, what was a habit you built?
Yeah.
And how did you actually keep it?
So mine was actually the meditation part.
Oh, wow, similar.
So what I started doing was I started meditating every morning. And I put my money where my mouth is and I said every morning at 6 a.m. I'm going to do a Zoom call with whoever wants to meditate with me. And we had 30, 40 people joining every morning and doing meditation together. And what that did was that gave me a clear goal. All right, I have to show up for all these people and in the process get my meditation in as well. So like you rightly said, you know, like you made this goal out publicly to everyone saying that I'm going to be doing this. In the same way, that's what I did. I said, I'm going to be showing up every morning for meditation. Here's the link. Whoever wants to join, come join. Let's meditate together. And over the year, it created this beautiful community. So I think that's one of the habits that really stuck for me this year.
Ashdin, that's beautiful. Thank you for joining us. And my biggest takeaway, at least, has been that I need to define eat healthier a little better. Even as I said that to you, I was like, all right, we've got to define it better. I was just going to say the same
thing. What does healthy mean?
Yeah. No, this isn't going to become an on-air question and answer session. I don't think I can answer that right here.
I think it's been a good masterclass on understanding your right intention, setting the goals and having a game plan, making them really easy. So this has been very, very helpful.
Yeah. And I think even finding ways to make people accountable. So Ashdin, let's just come back to you with that question. All right, I think we've lost our connection with Ashdin, but that was actually Ashdin Doctor coaching us through as the habit coach, how to build your habits, what the science is behind it.